Hello class, and welcome to lesson 5.7a, Solve Inequalities by Adding and Subtracting. Our objective today is obviously to solve inequalities by addition and subtraction. So it's just like solving equations. The only difference is you're going to have that inequality sign, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. So remember, an inequality is a statement formed by placing an inequality symbol between two expressions. Solution of an inequality, a number that you can substitute for the variable to make the inequality true. So our solutions will be a little different, and I'll go ahead and show you that. Equivalent inequalities, inequalities that have the same solution. So make sure you write down those three vocab words. You also need to write down our property, addition and subtraction properties of inequalities. Adding or subtracting the same number on each side of an inequality produces an equivalent inequality. So let's go ahead and take a look at teacher example 1. When you graph an inequality with a less than or greater than sign, you use an open circle. When you graph an inequality with a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to sign, you use a closed circle. So in this situation, we've got the inequality here. You can see the verbal phrase is a is greater than -6. So we use an open circle because it means a is not -6, but it's something larger. So it could be -5.999999999 right here against it, but it can't be -6. And then it can be anything larger than -6. So all the way up into the positives, it could be a billion even, but it cannot be -6 and it cannot be anything smaller. Notice b is different. T is less than or equal to. Remember that line underneath means it could be 4. So that's saying t could be 4, or it could be something smaller. So notice I've got a closed circle saying it's inclusive. It's including 4 and all the smaller numbers. Okay, so it can't be anything larger than 4, but it could be 4. Problem C is x is greater than 0, which we're kind of looking at the same idea here. It's that open circle, and that circle should be a little more on 0. It looks like it might have moved a little bit. And it's going to the right because all the numbers that are greater than that. And I want you to notice, see the arrow here? Where the arrow is there matches the arrow here. And that only works if the variable's first. So you can see here we've got a greater than sign, so the arrow matches. Here is a less than sign, so the arrow matches there. So remember, whenever you're graphing, if you have the variable first, it makes it very easy to graph. Problem D, W is greater than or equal to -3.5. And notice, writing out in words, you could say 3.5, or you could say -3 5/10, either way. So notice again, it's a closed circle, and because it's greater than, the arrow is pointing this way, so our arrow is pointing that way. So it goes to the right. Okay, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and try these 4 out, choosing less than, greater than, or equal to, and drawing your. Okay, let's take a look and see how you did. Problem number 1, y is greater than or equal to 5. Problem 2, 1 is greater than n. Now be careful. Notice how this one, the variable is not first, so I can't use my little trick for following the arrow. I can switch it around. If 1 is greater than n, that means n is less than 1. So if I were to put a number in there, it'll make more sense. 1 is greater than 0, for example. So if I change my order around, it would say 0 is less than 1. So notice my order is backwards. Be careful. Okay, number 3, p is less than or equal to -2.5. So notice the arrows match since it starts with a variable. Problem 4, z is greater than -1 1/2. And there you go. Notice 2 and 4 both have open circles because they are not or equal to. 1 and 3 have the or equal to line underneath, so they are closed circles. Okay, let's take a look at teacher example 2. Solve the inequality, then graph it. Notice I need to do my inverse operations just like I did with equations. The only difference is I need to keep that inequality sign. So I add 3 to each side, and I end up with m is less than 11. So m can be any number that's less than 11. Here, I need to add 9 to both sides to undo that subtraction. Notice I'm adding a negative and a positive, so I end up with -5, because that -14 has a greater absolute value. Notice it is not equal to, it's x is greater than or equal to. So it is that closed circle. So be careful. If you forget the inequality, it will make it wrong. Problem C, I need to subtract 6 on both sides, and I end up with A is greater than 7, and I have my answer there. Okay, go ahead and try it out. Now you're doing your inverse operations, solving the inequality, and then graphing it. Press play when you're ready to see your answers. Okay, let's take a look. We need to add 7 to both sides. Problem 6, we need to add 10 to both sides. Notice the difference. Closed circle here because it has the or equal to, open circle here because it does not. Problem 7, you're subtracting 18 on both sides of the equal sign or inequality sign. And problem 8, you're subtracting 7 and 5/10. Careful here, we need to line up those decimals. If you need to, add a 0.0 on the end of this 3 so you can remember to line up those decimals. Okay, go ahead, take this quiz. Notice you do not need to graph it because you cannot submit a graph into Schoology. But do be careful. One thing I will warn you about when you see this on Schoology, the first problem, for example, will say x blank blank. First, the x is already done for you. You need to fill in the 2 blanks. One blank is going to include your sign, your inequality, either less than or greater than. The second blank is for your number, what you get. Problem number 2 is going to say blank blank m because the number goes first, then the inequality, then the m. In problem 3, it will say blank blank f. The number goes first, then the inequality, and then the f is already on there. Okay, have a great day.